Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
So Amazon listens to us via Echo,
Yes.
and for the most part, we were able to delete our audio recordings. But Alfred, you found something about the written transcripts of these conversations. What's going on?
They keep that. Even though you delete your voice recordings from Amazon, they say this is to protect your privacy. If you're concerned about Amazon listening on you, you can delete your voice recordings. But what they don't tell you is that the transcription of that, the text that comes from it, they keep that, and that stays within their system. Now they're saying that they're working on deleting it from when it travels around their subsystems. So the text stays there, and it goes to all their other artificial intelligence to process it and train their machine learning model. But you don't have a choice in deleting that on your own. Like you can't say I don't want this to train it at all. Just get rid of my text data. So even though they're not listening to you anymore when you delete that data, I mean, they can still read it. I mean, I think that's just as good.
How big of a deal is this for consumers? Should we be worried?
I think that it's definitely a big deal that it's not transparent about what data they have. You think that when you delete the voice recording, you just think, okay, I've washed my hands, right? Like I'm clean from Amazon, and they don't
gives you a false sense of privacy and security, right?
Yeah. So, and there's no option to go in and delete that data that's just going around their system.
So, I mean, do you think they're doing anything nefarious with that data, or is it just sort of what exactly is that data for?
Amazon says that they're using it for their machine learning purposes, because they have to train their artificial
AI.
intelligence. They said they're using it to improve how it listens to people, and so it picks up on different words better. But I think the only thing that I have an issue with is more about how they don't tell you that text stays there, and there's no way to delete that on your own.
And does Google do this as well? I mean, they've got their Google Home speaker, right?
So I reached out to Google as well as Apple, because Apple also has Siri. They say that they don't. So when you delete your text records from your recordings, at least from Google, it also deletes the text records. Now with Apple, it's a little bit different, because when you communicate with Siri, it doesn't tie it to you. It doesn't tie it to your Apple ID.
Right.
It ties it to a random identifier, so that even if you ask to delete that data, it doesn't know which set of that data is yours.
It would be able to.
Yeah, basically. But you can delete the random identifier that's tied to your phone, and then it deletes all that data.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of Google Assistant, Qualcomm has put out a prototype of smart earbuds that are designed to work better with Google. I mean, obviously, AirPods are all the rage here. I think the idea is that these will be cheaper, they'll be smarter, and theoretically more power efficient, and they'll work with Google Assistant more. Is that? I mean, you're an Android user. Is this something you'd be interested in?
I'm super into things being cheaper, and as you know, I don't really appreciate having to stare at my screen all day. With this, I could see something more of a watch with a screen on it, and then you can tell it, you can talk to the earbuds to communicate with stuff on your watch, as opposed to having to press all these buttons on your phone and all that. So I definitely think voice is the way to go here. And
I think they did a similar thing. They created a similar prototype for the Amazon Alexa with this Google Assistant one. Hopefully, the technology will help these earbuds actually connect to Android phones faster, similar to what AirPods and iPhones connect super easily. Right?
I think that's the biggest issue right now for voice assistants. Beyond being able to get it within the headphones, being able to manage conversations correctly. You really don't want to be the guy on the subway station yelling play music, play music, and waiting for it to respond.
Hey Google.
Yeah.
Hey Google. Yeah, you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Lastly, check out the third part of our story from our own Dara Kerr. She went down to South Texas to check out the border, talk with folks down there about the prospect of the Trump wall going up and what that might mean for the community around there. This piece looks a lot at what might be sacrificed if the wall goes up. We're talking about local wildlife. We're talking about historic monuments. This really old church that's still being used, that kind of straddles the border, might get sacrificed if this wall goes up. Interestingly, she talked to a bunch of the locals there, and they say they actually prefer having a surveillance state with cameras everywhere over a physical barrier because of the destruction it might cause to the area.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
All right, for more of the stories, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Alfred Ng.
Thanks for listening.
wish I had more time to answer that. They prefer the surveillance state over the...
I mean, surveillance state's probably...
Thanks, everybody, for joining us for the recording of the audio podcast. You can subscribe to that using the links in the description below, as well as find links through to all of the articles that we just referenced in the top part of the show. Now it's time for the post-show, where you send us questions and comments. For anybody new to the experience here, we're glad to have you. We want to hear more about what you want to hear about, and it helps us figure out what to report on better, right? Is that how it goes, Roger?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyways,
Loosely.
let's talk a little bit about Amazon data, shall we? Thatcher says, isn't deleting data normally the easiest thing to do with tech?
No.
Absolutely
No.
not. No. Yeah, so even when you delete your own data, like a lot of companies often have loopholes around it as to like why they hold on to it. So in one instance, I know a company that had worked with like a government, basically, getting all this data in, and they the contract was essentially like, you don't keep this data, but if they make a copy of it or if they transform it in any way, it's no longer like someone else's data.
Yep.
So
there's a lot of like legal gymnastics.
There's a lot
done.
of loopholes there.
Yeah,
and like
for sure.
that's the other point that I wanted to bring up with Google, when they say like last week or 2 weeks ago they announced, we have the automatic delete history tool now, right?
Right.
But that is data that you give to Google like on your own. So like your maps, your search history, that kind of stuff. That does not do anything on like the data that Google amasses from other sources. Like they have about like 70% of credit card transactions from a deal with Microsoft.
Yep.
Not Microsoft, sorry, MasterCard.
Okay.
So that's all these credit card transactions that you've done, right? That's not data that you gave Google. That's data that you gave MasterCard that then sold it to Google. That doesn't delete, like when you ask Google, like, please delete all my data, because that's not data that they collected on you.
Yep.
That's my point. There's so many loopholes within like this data economy that like, even when you're deleting the data that like you think is being deleted, it's not deleting everything on you.
Right. And I think the most dangerous aspect here is to the point of false sense of security. When you delete that data, you feel like, oh, I'm protecting myself.
Yeah.
I'm being securing my personal data, when really this whole universe of data around you that you're not even aware of.
It's very much like a digital like tinfoil hat that you're putting on, where it's like, oh, I'm safe now.
There you go.
First question coming in is coming from Yan Hao Chen. Compare and contrast, how is the Amazon data collected and stored differently from Google? He's wondering if Google uses the data in similar ways as Amazon is allegedly right now.
Well, this is all just voice data, so let's clarify that first. And I think a big difference to consider is Amazon is about 70% of the voice like speaker like market. Mm-hmm. Google has only about 24%, and Siri is like at 6% with the HomePod. So just on scale alone, like Amazon has a lot more of that to begin with.
Yep.
And I'm not 100% clear on how Google processes that data through its like metadata and all that afterwards. But I know that when you delete the data, the text transcript is also removed with it. That being said, there is a possibility that it could be under the same system that Amazon goes through, where like it goes to like this machine learning thing, or it's sent with somebody else.
Right.
But Google,
But maybe it's deleted faster, I guess, or runs through the system faster.
Yeah, Google stresses that they don't keep that, like all traces of it are gone though, which is different from Amazon, where let's walk through this. So when you like give a voice command to your Amazon Echo or any product that uses Alexa, it gets it takes in the voice recording, it uploads that to the Alexa cloud, then it goes through two algorithms that analyze the language. One that like transcribes it, turns it into text, and then the other one that like interprets it and is like, oh, he wants to know what the weather is, or he wants to play this song.
Okay.
So it goes through two of Amazon's processes. That text stays within Amazon's system, and then they send it back to like within their own cloud servers to teach its machine learning, like, oh, this is what he wanted to do. This is the text that like was from this command and things like that.
Right.
And also, then it sends you a response, right? It says like, okay, now the weather in New York is cloudy this morning, or okay, now playing the 359.
Right.
It keeps the record of that response too, like the text of that. And if you've ever played Jeopardy, it's pretty simple to figure out what the question is based off what the answer is. If I see a log that says, okay, now playing the 359, it's pretty easy to assume, the command was play the 359.
Right.
Great questions and comments filtering in. I'm going to try to make the most out of these. Ryan asks, should I be worried about the Google Homes in my house listening all the time? I know they say they erase everything when there's no query, but do they really? I also like the follow-up to this immediately from Datcher. He says, I try to keep the mic on my Google Home muted because I watch too many YouTube videos that try to activate my home. Message received, Datch. That was a nice shot across the bow.
I mean, I think it's smart to be safe. Well, turn your mic off for one, but looking through how all these smart assistants work, it's fairly certain that they're not recording all the time. Now, there might be internal documents or data that pops up that says otherwise, and if you have them, please send them my way. But the idea is that the way that it works is that it has to be activated with a wake word. Otherwise, it would be if it was recording all the time. That's a ton of data that they're getting on a daily basis, and their servers are not that large to manage all that audio data 24/7. So that
almost seems counterintuitive too. If they pile up that much, at that point it just becomes nonsense.
Also,
there's no way they could effectively filter it.
Yeah, and they really don't. They're not looking to find what dead audio is going on for advertising purposes. They want you to interact with it so they know what you're interested in. They're not looking to find out what you sound like when you're asleep or anything like that. That does nothing for their advertising purposes. But anyway, so it works based off of the wake word. But the reason why sometimes there might have been recordings logged that you don't remember activating it at all comes from the fact that the way they're not that smart. So sometimes you can say something that sounds like the wake word, and I was like, oh, he's calling me, so it starts recording.
Yeah. Okay.
Next question is coming in from Yan-Hao Chen again. How about Google Assistant enabled devices like Lenovo smart displays? Does your data go to Google or Lenovo?
It's supposed to just go to Google because Lenovo makes the hardware, but the assistant is all Google.
Yeah.
That is a good question though, regarding Facebook Portal. Facebook's smart assistant with a camera in your home, that uses Alexa, but it also uses a different Facebook smart AI.
Okay.
So if you say hey Portal, it's Facebook's AI.
Oh, got it.
And Facebook says that they delete the data and the text that goes with it.
Okay.
But
the Alexa data.
But if you say the Amazon smart speaker, that they don't know what goes on with that. The Facebook spokesperson told me that if you do that, Facebook doesn't have access to that data, so we don't know what happens to that.
Okay, so it basically goes to the Alexa cloud separately, and it's almost siphoned, or it's walled off from the whole Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny that you should bring that up because it segues nicely into another comment from Yan. He says, just curious, wondering if we were biased against Facebook Portal because we don't really bring it up that much. To be fair, he's not wrong, but you did just kind of name drop it, and just wondering where that does stack up against all this data.
I don't think we're biased against it. I mean,
it's just new. It's newer. It's not quite as interesting.
Look, they haven't sold that many of them, for one. And when it came out at a time of intense scrutiny that's still going on about Facebook and its ability to handle our personal data. So, yes, we're going to be skeptical about the Facebook Portal smart display because it just seems like a really ill-timed product.
Yeah, and honestly, I would argue that I think more attention has been on Facebook and Google rather than a company like Amazon that has the most smart speakers available.
Right. I mean, generally, we've written more about Echo devices from a review perspective
because they have more devices.
They have more devices for sure, but we've definitely paid plenty of attention to Facebook and Google for some of this stuff.
Bruce Butler and Ming Ku both want to know what our favorite, or let's go objectively best voice assistant is out there on the market. Timothy follows up with probably not Bixby, right?
Or Cortana.
I mean, if you watch Google I/O, I mean, they're showing off a lot of capabilities on the Home Assistant that is not something available on other voice assistants.
And look, the demo they ran through, the Google Assistant demo was pretty impressive. If that all works, and it's a big if because we don't know yet because the stuff is coming out later this year. I mean, that would definitely make it probably the best. I know I talked to our smart home folks who generally say Google Assistant is probably the most accurate. I've had less experience with Google, but between Alexa and Siri, obviously Alexa is just far more useful.
And I think if you're looking at it from a privacy concern of, who's going to take my data the least or the most, I think you have to take into factor, like, what ecosystem are you already embedded into? Like, I'm not that heavily into, like, Amazon's ecosystem. Like, I don't have a Fire TV. I don't, like, really use Prime that much or anything like that. So that's, like if I get an Echo, that's, like, introducing a new element of it. Whereas if just full disclosure, I have, like, 3 Google Homes in my house. But as, like, somebody that knows a lot about privacy and security, I'm okay with that, just, like, looking at my own, like, risks and like threats. I use Gmail. I have, like, an Android phone. Like, I've already accepted, like, Google is a big part of my life. So adding, like, this level to another level to it is, like, a calculated risk for me.
Right.
Rather than adding, like, something from Amazon where it's like that's a new element that I have to, like, play into now.
Got it. You're just dealing with the one company as opposed to
I like that Andres has pointed out that you mentioned that whole being in an ecosystem and changing ecosystems. He points out, they pull data from you in a number of different ways. It's not just that they're waiting to listen to you talk. He points out same thing happens when you categorize or label a photo in Google Photos with a name or a place. They need that information to try to make suggestions be smarter too. So that's a good point. They're tracking.
That's a great point. And it's not just, I mean, we're talking about the assistant right now specifically, but yeah, with Google and with Facebook, with all these companies, they have so many different ways to get our data. We were just talking about it before, but sort of this universe of data that you're not even aware of that they're calculating, whether it's purchases, search history, whether it's Facebook posts. It just, every little bit gets accumulated into this giant kind of cache of data on you.
Next question is from CKT asking, is Google doing any more with Daydream?
I don't know. I don't think they are.
They didn't announce anything with Daydream, the hardware, I think, at I/O this year. I don't know. They seem to have taken a bit of a pause.
I mean, also, if you think about it, think about the Pixel 3a.
Yeah.
It's not shipping with, like, the Daydream stuff.
No.
So,
and they didn't talk about it. They seemed really the focus was on AR. Google Lens. So
which also makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, VR is a thing for Google right now.
No, it seems to be a lot less a priority. It seems like it's more of a priority for Facebook and Oculus, but
there's definitely
Google.
more uses for Google with AR than there are with VR.
Yeah, like the advertising potential for VR is limited relative to Google Lens and AR for sure.
Timothy is staying on the topic of Google. Drive mode on the new Android Q. Is this going to kill Android Auto in cars?
That's a great question. I really wish I had one of my roadshow colleagues here to kind of comment on that. I think it's a good complementary. We haven't tried it, so I can't really say for sure if it'll, like, kill anything. But it's nice that they've got a user interface there that is, like, less distracting and more. It allows you to kind of stay focused on the road and your task of driving.
I don't think it's going to kill it, only because there's so many cars out there on the street that have Android Autos, and I don't know if they're compatible with Android Q. So, like, if Google decides to just straight up kill off Android Autos, like, what's going to happen to all these people with these cars that, like, they can't update to it?
Right.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
You gotta buy a Pixel phone.
That would be awful, just to, like, drive your car.
How long until Google just starts making the Pixel Mobile?
Well, they're working on cars, aren't they? Like the Waymo stuff?
Yeah, self-driving cars. They don't want you to buy them, though. You'll rent time on them.
Yeah. CKT, do you think the Pixel 4 will have 5G? And what is your guess on how much the Pixel 4 memory size might be?
Ooh.
Boy, that actually kind of rhymed.
Very good questions. I don't know. 5G is kind of 50-50 for me. Like, there'll definitely be more 5G phones in the second half. I don't know. Maybe Pixel will be one of them. I'm not really sure if Google wants to take that risk right away. Yeah. Especially knowing that, like, Apple's not doing it.
Yeah, I think they're going to sit and wait in the same way that they're, like, sitting and waiting on a foldable Pixel, which Rich Nieva, like, had the scoop on that.
Had the nice little scoop on, yeah.
They're working on it, but they're not, like, going to push it out, like, immediately. They're going to have, like, internal prototypes for it, but I think they want to wait and see before, like, something blows up in their own face.
And as for memory, I would say, like, it's the amount of memory we're getting each year seems to be going up
Yes.
pretty consistently, and the price for these things are going down. So I would be surprised if you saw like an even higher capacity option.
Michael Brown, in terms of privacy and innovation, how do you all feel about each company's balance of privacy and innovation? Where is Apple, Google, and Facebook on your private to innovative scale?
Oh,
I think Apple would be the highest on that scale for me. But also if you look at it, like there's a reason why Siri isn't the best like voice assistant, because it's not using that data to teach itself on a massive scale.
I would argue Apple is probably high on the privacy aspect, but maybe the innovation is definitely on the low. Like if you took the balance of the two, which I think is the spirit of the question, like which balances it the best?
Yeah.
Which has the best privacy and innovative.
I mean, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon is not really that innovative with like its smart speaker stuff. I don't know. I don't think that's really that innovative.
Well, in terms of the features and the capabilities of Alexa, though, like they have
They're not.
improved over
I don't
time.
think they're that great though.
I would say Google is a lot more aggressive in rolling out advances.
I think Google's very aggressive in innovation and not that great. Like if we're going like privacy top to bottom, I would go with Apple, then Amazon, and then Google. Okay. But if we're going like innovation, it's the complete opposite way around.
Google,
so like
Amazon, Apple.
I would put like Amazon as the middle child here.
So you'd argue that Amazon probably has the best balance then?
Amazon's very middle of the road for me, though. They're not really doing that much. But yeah, as far as like privacy stuff goes, like I know I'm putting Amazon in the middle here for like privacy concerns, but I would put them very close to like Google. Like
They're
it's
closer
like
on
it's
that
very
end.
much like a tie.
Got it.
It's like maximum security running and like like blocking like someone else's path or something like
Gotcha.
that.
Okay.
This is the horse thing.
Thanks, dude.
All right, Alfred, then take those ecosystem scales that you just developed and equate them to your Smash lineup.
I mean, that's different though. That's differs for every person. Like I use like a lot of Google products. Like I don't, but if I were somebody that had like the Kindle like Fire or whatever, and I had a Fire TV stick, I might be more comfortable with having an Echo. Okay. And like, oh, I already give like my data to Amazon in this way and this way. It makes sense for me to give it like on this as well. Like it doesn't for me now because I don't like use that many Amazon products.
Okay.
So Google is Piranha Plant, and Amazon is Dr. Mario, and Apple is...
Piranha Plant's not even good.
I don't even
Piranha
know.
Plant is way underrated.
I understand none of this, by the way. None.
I'm trying to speak your language here, Alfred. I'm doing my best. We got a few minutes left. Yanhao Chen, I like the comment about the ecosystems we are embedded in. In your opinion, which ecosystem can you definitely not live with? Cannot live without.
Can't live without. I would honestly like Google. Like our work emails are all through Gmail.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. I will say this, definitely Amazon, only because of their dominant of the cloud servers.
Oh, like, right. If you really took it, yes.
So if we're looking at Amazon across all the scales, like it's not just Amazon Prime, it's not just like Echo and all that stuff.
AWS. Which powers everything on the internet, pretty much.
Yeah, Netflix is on AWS. I believe Twitter's on AWS. There's a lot of websites that just wouldn't be online without like running on Amazon servers.
Verizon.
Like all of Verizon?
No, I know that big chunks of Verizon.
Okay.
On AWS.
Yeah, so if we're talking about that, then yeah, it's gonna be Amazon. I mean, Kashmir Hill, who was at Gizmodo, did a really good series on this, where every week she dropped like one of the big tech giants.
Yeah.
And she did it like for real, where like they got a VPN server to block like anything that connected to Amazon server or anything that connected to Google servers.
Wow.
So it was like everything. And I would honestly argue like Amazon is probably the most difficult because of like their cloud server. If we're talking about things that you interact with on your own, like already, like that would probably be Google.
Yeah. I'd agree.
Good answer. Timothy, do you foresee all of Google Home devices eventually having ad hoc connectivity?
Like on its own, like without needing to connect to your Wi-Fi?
I'm assuming that's what he intends
Like
by ad hoc
connection?
Yeah, like LTE thing probably.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically with 5G and 5G home connection, although that's a ways away, and
how would
there are all kinds of practical issues.
How would the smart headphones connect? Like through Bluetooth?
Bluetooth.
Okay.
Yeah. They wouldn't have their own independent connection.
But then how does it? I guess because the Bluetooth signal would send the voice command to whatever your phone is.
Yeah, it's talking to your phone.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And the last couple closing down, another one from Timothy. When do we foresee data officially becoming a form of currency?
Ooh.
I mean, it kind of is already. Like,
Yeah.
you can't pay for it. Like, you can't go to a coffee shop and be like, hey, here's my.
Although some restaurants have, right?
Yes, there's a coffee shop. They did this as an experiment at a university, whereas, like, if you go in and you give them your name, address, and birth date, you get a free cup of coffee. There have been attempts to monetize data for users where there's one company in Mexico had offered, we'll pay your phone bill at the end of every month as long as you answer this survey on like the lock screen on your phone, because they view that data as like valuable.
Sure.
And a lot of companies will argue now that, you know, it is like you give us your data and we give you access to Facebook for free.
Right.
But like as like spending currency, I don't really see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a value to the data, and that, you know, there are transactions in the background, but like you personally, it's hard to see like from any kind of scaled way to actually use your data as currency.
You can definitely barter with it and like get things for it, but like to use it as money, like because like there's no like once I've offered you my name and my birthday or something like that. Like, yeah, it's not a renewable currency. Right. It's not like I can like come back again and be like, hey, by the way, my name is Alfred. Like, it's not the same. It doesn't have the same value.
Unless you change your name.
Nah.
All right, here's a fun one for the road we're going to go out on. With the celebrity voice assistants becoming an option, John Legend being a notable one, who would you want to be the next celebrity voice of your voice assistant?
BVG.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's an easy answer right there.
I've put a lot of thought into this one. And I personally would want Maurice LaMarche, the voice actor for the Brain on Pinky and the Brain, doing his impression of Orson Welles.
I want my dad so I can hear his voice.
Like just constantly.
Yeah, and I can tell it to say I love you.
Oh God.
Would it
so sad. I have to
would
go
your
home
voice assistant sound
I have to
perpetually
go home and tell
disappointed?
my son I love him now.
Alfred, would your voice assistant sound perpetually disappointed?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I can see that.
Anyway, happy Mother's Day coming up this weekend.
There you go.
I hope you didn't just give like everybody in the audience a mild heart attack because they forgot Mother's Day was coming up.
No.
That's your PSA for the day. We got great suggestions coming in. Snoop Dogg is one of the most recent ones. Go ahead and sign off, send off, tweet at us. Let us know who your favorite voice assistant celebrity endorsement fill-in whatever
Gilbert
would be.
Gottfried.
Oh,
Ooh,
God.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, that hurts just to think about.
Yeah.
But
That's a nail in the head right there.
that's it for us for the day. That's it for us for the week. Everybody have a tremendous weekend. Do we have any conflicts coming up? I feel like I have to check all the time now to make sure we actually have a show coming up.
We're actually okay next week. I don't think there's another conference going on.
All right, good enough for now. Then, all right, folks, take care. Thanks for joining us. Roger.
Yeah, the 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, FeedBurner, Stitcher, Google Play, Google Podcast, the Amazon Echo, and, of course, CNET.com. We'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all.